Ephraim and the Puerto Ricans. What people don't understand is that the so-called blacks in this country, the so-called Hispanics in this country, and the Native Americans, we all come from the same family tree. Meaning we all got the same mothers and the same fathers. Now they'll look at me, right, and they'll look at you and they say we different because of our skin color, because of our hair texture. But we went through the same, all of these people on this side, the blacks, the Hispanics, the Cubans, Dominicans, they all went through the same curses that I found in the Bible. That's what the soldier is bringing out, right? You know anything about Puerto Rican history?
No.
Anything about y'all history? Nothing. All right, so let me ask you something. In Puerto Rico, what language do they speak? They speak Spanish, right? Where does Spanish come from? Where does Spanish come from? The language. It comes from Spain. Spain is over in the east. It's on the other side of the world. So I'm going to read to you what happened. Get Deuteronomy 28. I want a nation from afar. 50, 51. No, I want this. I want this. 49. Let's go.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 49.
Because people don't understand it. I'm going to read the history for you out of a book, but I want to show it to you out of the Bible first. Because the Bible predicted it, and now it's what we know as history. So Latino history is actually Bible prophecy. The same way African American history is actually Bible prophecy. Why? Because we went through slavery where they took us from a land and brought us here to work, right? Y'all went through colonialism where you were already in the land. They came and turned you into slaves. Same thing happened in two different ways, but to the same people. Today, we known as African American. We known as blacks. Today, y'all known as Latinos, Hispanics, or Puerto Ricans. Meaning the names that we carry today are not our biblical names that God gave us. So we here to give you back your God-given biblical name. I'm going to show you it in history. First, let's get the prophecy. Read this.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from afar.
So the scripture said that a nation would come against the Puerto Ricans from afar. Meaning, when they got to the land, they would come from a opposite side of the world. Stay with me because nobody has taught you your history, which is an atrocity. Because we spend all our time in school learning white people's history and their version of history, but they're not teaching the people what actually happened to the people. Why are we in this place in these conditions? Today you're going to learn. Come on.
From the end of the earth.
So from the end of the earth, read.
As swift as the eagle flieth.
When you study history, the Greeks used the eagle as their symbol. When you study history, the Romans used the eagle as their symbol. When you study history, the Spaniards spoke Spanish. That's why the Puerto Ricans today spoke Spanish. But that came from way over here on the other side of the world. So how did the people on this side of the world learn Spanish? Because they were conquered. They were conquered. So you speaking Spanish, that's not your native tongue. Before you were speaking Spanish, you were speaking Hebrew. Read that.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
So you got to think, if your family, if you come from a predominantly Puerto Rican family, yes or no? Is most of the people in your family Puerto Rican? Do they all speak English? Some of them speak Spanish, right? So if I walked in the house and I was speaking English, would they be able to understand what I was saying? Do you think so? Or would some of them struggle? Because if you don't know how to speak English, it's kind of hard for you to interpret, right? Listen to what they said about the people that would come and conquer the Puerto Ricans. Read that again.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from afar.
Because a lot of times so-called Puerto Ricans actually think that they're white, but they're not. You're not. The people that conquered you were so-called white people, were Spanish people, right? The same way they conquered us. Come on.
From the end of the earth,
come on,
as swift as the eagle flieth.
Read.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
He said the language that these people speak, you're not going to understand their language. Why? Because they're coming from the other side of the world. Come on.
Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance.
A nation of fierce countenance, meaning these people are known for war. When you check the white man out back in the day, even right now to this day, he the #1 warrior on the planet. Yeah. Nobody can mess with him. I don't care how much guns the black man get, the Puerto Rican man get. If they roll a tank down this street right now, ain't nothing they love 38 special, they snub nose gonna be able to do. A man of fierce countenance, meaning not only does he have the ability to fight, he ain't scared to use it. Go ahead.
which shall not regard the person of the old,
Which shall not consider that somebody is real old, read.
nor show favor to the young.
Or if it's a small child, they don't care if it's a small child either. You still see it today with the Tamir Rice and the Trayvon Martin, read.
And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle.
What is he saying? He's saying that when he gets here, give me this back one. He's saying when he get here, he gonna take everything from you. The land of Puerto Rico actually belonged to the northern kingdom of Israel.
That's right.
Before they were called Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico translates to port of riches. Meaning when the white folk got to Puerto Rico, there are books that says that the Puerto Rican was playing with diamonds like they was marbles. Kids was in the street playing with diamonds. It was gold stitched into their clothing. So when they came and they coming from Europe and they're poor in Europe, they saying, look, this whole place is full of riches. It's a port of riches. Now the people that were in the land that they were calling a port of riches, now they walk around today calling themselves a port of riches or Puerto Rican. Meaning your nationality was taken and you just took whatever they put on you. Come on, keep reading.
And the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed.
He said they're going to take everything from you until you be destroyed. Now watch this. This is a book. Name and cover of the book. I want you to start at the highlighted part. I'm going to show you this in actual history. So what we read was Bible prophecy. It hadn't happened yet. Today, I can show you the Bible prophecy, and I can turn around, I can show it to you in the history books that it actually happened. Now watch this. Read.
This is called Black Indians, a hidden heritage.
The reason it's called Black Indians is because it traces the blacks and the Indians as one nation of people as you read the book. All right, come on.
For the people of the Americas.
Page 26. There we go. Keep going.
For the people of the Americas.
You know what the Americas are, right? They taught you this in school, right? North America, Central America, South America. And you got the islands, right? Puerto Rican is one of them islands. So that was the people of America. Come on.
The arrival of Columbus was wholly a blessing.
So you know Christopher Columbus? They celebrate it every day, right? A lot of people that are Hispanic or so-called Hispanic, they think Christopher Columbus is their hero. Christopher Columbus was the first man to come and conquer y'all, and that's what we're going to read in this book. Come on.
On his first day, October 12th, 1492.
Listen to what he did. His first day, remember, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Y'all ever learn this in school? This is basic stuff that they teach us, the lies in the education systems of America. Come on.
The explorer wrote in his diary, I took some of the natives by force.
Where is he at? He's in the island of Hispaniola. Where's that at? That's Puerto Rico. You get what I'm saying? That's those islands. Come on.
He later found the original inhabitants to be tractable, peaceable.
So these men were at peace. Go ahead.
And concluded, there is not in the world a better nation.
He said, look, out of the whole planet, there's nobody better than these Puerto Ricans that's in Puerto Rico. Remember, he's coming from Europe. Come on.
His response as a European was to say that Indians must be made to work.
He said, we got to make them slaves. Come on.
And adopt our ways.
And said they have to adopt our ways, which is now why your name is Gonzalez Hernandez. We're going to keep reading. Come on.
The Christopher Columbus, whose unique seamanship and courage had opened the Americas to European penetration.
Did what?
Also began the transatlantic slave trade.
Here's what blacks don't know. Here's what the average black person that's walking around don't know. The transatlantic slave trade did not start with us. It started with y'all. Y'all were the first slaves in the transatlantic slave trade, and they killed so many that they had to replace y'all with us. Come on.
He started by shipping 10 chained Arawak men and women to Seville.
So he took 10 men by chain and he took them to Seville. Go ahead.
Seville, Spain. He wrote.
That's why you speak Spanish, because Christopher Columbus was from Spain. So when he came to the Americas and started taking y'all back as slaves, the slaves speak the language of their slave master. The slaves keep the religion of their slave masters, which is why most Puerto Ricans, what religion do they subscribe to? Catholicism. Y'all didn't know what Catholicism was before you were conquered starting in 1492. Stay with me, come on.
He wrote enthusiastically
Come on.
to King Ferdinand
Come on.
and Queen Isabella about the business possibilities.
He said it's so much wealth and so many people in Spain, we can start a whole market off of it. Go ahead.
From here, in the name of the Blessed Trinity.
In the name of the Trinity, which is what they still do today, Guadalupe, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, Catholicism, the Pope, all of that, that's what he came conquering in the name of. Come on. And now today, the Puerto Ricans love Catholicism. That was never your religion. You should have never followed that. Come on.
We can send all the slaves that can be sold.
He said, in the name of the Blessed Trinity, we can send all the slaves that we can sell. Read.
When he loaded 1,100 Taino men.
He loaded 1,100 Taino men. Who are the Tainos? Say it again. That's Puerto Ricans. That's Puerto Ricans. These are your people that we read. He loaded 1,100 so-called Puerto Ricans on what?
And women aboard 4 Spanish ships.
Aboard what?
4 Spanish ships.
What does this sound like? The transatlantic slave trade. What the Negroes know that we was a part of the transatlantic slave trade. They trying to wash it out y'all history. They don't want y'all to know. Why? 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 Because that'll draw the line that the so-called blacks and the so-called Hispanics are the same people.
That's right.
And we are one people. You ever seen that black and brown pride? That's a true thing. Why? Because we brothers. But what happened? We get in these different neighborhoods where y'all gangbang against us, we gangbang against y'all, right? The Crips don't like the SDs. They don't like the Latin Kings. They don't like the MS-13. You get what I'm saying? We end up fighting each other while they prosper off our death. So what are we here for? To reunite the 12 tribes of the children of Israel.
That's right.
All 12 tribes. Not just the so-called blacks, not just the so-called Hispanics, but the Native Americans as well. Let me read some more history. Come on.
The crowding and the stormy Atlantic crossing took a fearful toll.
So he loaded up 1,100. But it was harsh trying to get back to Spain with 1,100. Watch what this say. Come on.
Only 300 survived.
Only what?
Only 300 survived.
Out of the 1,100, 800 of them died on the way back to Spain. Now, you would think a normal person would look at that and say, man, this kind of harsh, this kind of cruel. Look at what he say. Come on.
But Columbus and Spain had decided to continue the profitable slave trade from the Americas.
He said 300 is good with me. That's more than 0. He said, now let's just go get some more. That's why it was 100 million Native Americans on this side of the world, and by the time they stopped, there was only 10 million left.
Bring it out.
What are we reading? We're reading actual, factual history, but guess what? It's also Bible prophecy. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. Remember, the history book said that they loaded 1,100 Taino Indians on ships and took them back to Spain, right? Watch what Moses said was going to happen to the Israelites. Come on.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 68.
Now you tell me that if the Bible is a real book or not. You tell me. Come on.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
The word Egypt in the Bible means slavery. Let me explain it. The Israelites, give me Exodus 20 and 2. The Israelites were slaves in Egypt. When we're reading Deuteronomy, Deuteronomy is Moses giving them instructions when they first get out of Egypt. So let me give you an example. You a kid, you do something bad. Your mama whoop your behind, she put you in your room. You come out the room and she say, look, if you do that again, I'm going to put you back in your room. What you thinking? You think about the whooping you about to get. You thinking I'm going to get the whooping, I'm going to get the punishment. It ain't about the room. It's about the punishment behind what you're doing. You get what I'm saying? That's the same way God used the word Egypt. I'm going to prove it. Read that.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt.
Out of the land of Egypt. Go ahead.
Out of the house of bondage.
Out of the house of bondage. When you read that word Egypt, it is synonymous for bondage or slavery. We on the same page. Go back to Deuteronomy 28.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68.
Come on.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
He said the Lord is going to bring you into bondage again. How?
With ships.
How?
With ships.
What did we read Christopher Columbus did?
Ships.
We read that he took 1,100 Taino men and women, put them on ships and took them back to Spain. Out of that, 800 died. And he said, you know what? This is a profitable business. So what does that mean? He went back and did the same thing over and over and over again. The Bible said that the Lord would bring them into bondage by what?
With Egypt again. With ships.
With what?
With ships.
So now we know that the Bible prophecy was fulfilled with the so-called Puerto Ricans and Christopher Columbus. That's how we know that y'all are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Keep reading.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
That you wouldn't see your homeland ever again. Come on.
And there,
when you got to Spain, what happened to them?
ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
They were sold as slaves. What are we showing? First off, that the Bible is a real book. It just ain't never been taught to the people the way it's supposed to be taught. Secondly, that you so-called Puerto Ricans and you so-called black men, you are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. The Bible foretold your history before it ever happened. And not only that, Christ is a black man, look just like you. Not only that, when he come back, he coming back to save you and you only from your oppression. That's what we read. Keep reading.
For bond men and bond women.
It said you would be taken on slave ships and sold for bond men and bond women. Who did that happen to? When you check history, this ain't nothing we can deny. This ain't nothing they can cover up, they can hide. The difference is we now know how to read ourselves. We can now interpret the Bible ourselves, that we are something greater than anybody else ever thought that we were. I'm going to show you that. Deuteronomy 7 and 6. What's the significance of us saying that we the Israelites? Why would we get dressed up, get a loudspeaker, come out on the street just to teach people history? Why? Because the Lord is coming back for his chosen seed.
That's right.
In these last days, the Lord is raising back up the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. Because Bible prophecy is not done being fulfilled yet. You know why? Because the Lord has to save his people from the conditions that they in. That's what this is about. So we went through the majority of atrocities, even though we go through some still today. The heavy chattel slavery, that's over. Now it's time for us to get our minds right before the second coming of the Messiah. What it's about, read that.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee.
Listen to what it says. It says the Lord thy God has chosen the so-called black man, the so-called Puerto Rican, the so-called black man as what?
To be a special people unto himself.
To be a special people to himself. 18 nations that walk the earth. The Lord took one nation and said through these people the world would know about the one true God. Who are those people? You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Read.
Above all people.
Listen to what he said the Israelites would be placed. Read.
Above all people.
That what?
That are upon the face of the earth.
He said the Israelites would be above everybody on the face of the earth. So why are we at the bottom? Because we have not kept the covenant that we made with our God. Our job is to bring you back to that covenant.
Right.
Got questions? Questions? So let me ask you something. What does Puerto Rican mean? Well, we've been teaching. I hope you soaking some in.
You gotta ask him.
The word Puerto Rican, what does it mean? What? Who said it? Puerto riches. That's what it means. That's the translation of Puerto Rican is Puerto riches. In all actuality, you're Ephraim from the 12 tribes of the children of Israel.
That's right.
That's who your forefathers was. That's why they call themselves Boricua. That ain't no Spanish word. That's a Hebrew word. Why was they calling themselves Boricua? Because they was the Israelites. They was speaking Hebrew on this side of the world before they was conquered in 1492. This is real history. You ain't never going to get this history in a white man's school system. But you're going to learn it today on the street corner. Because the Bible said that your eyes would see your teachers in the last days. Give me Judah and Ephraim oppressed together. So what are we teaching? We teaching that the so-called Hispanics, what they went through, and what the so-called blacks went through are the exact same thing.
Right.
One went through slavery, where they come and they take your people and they bring them to another land. They make them work the land for free. The other one went through colonialism, where you're already on the land, but they come and conquer you and make you work your own land for free. Two sides of the same coin. Two different nations, but one nation of people. One nation of people. Watch this. How did the Puerto Ricans get to this side of the world? Watch this. I want this first. Go ahead. Read that.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50 and verse 33.
Listen to what the Bible say, right? Read.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel.
The children of Israel is from Ephraim on down. Read.
And the children of Judah.
The children of Judah is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. You got to know the Bible to know these things. So these are the children of Ephraim. These are the children of Israel. These are the children of Judah. Right? All 12 collectively. Read.
Were oppressed together.
What were they?
Were oppressed together.
Meaning they all taking oppression. Whether it's a hood or it's a barrio, it's still the slums of America.
Bring it out.
Look, they lock us in cages and they lock y'all in concentration camps. They taking the children as soon as they cross the border.
Right.
Separating kids from babies from families.
Right.
ICE is doing crackdowns all over the city, make people scared to even leave their house.
Right.
What is this? This is Bible prophecy coming to pass. The same way we oppress, our children can't walk down the street with Skittles and a juice, is the same way you oppress. You can't walk down the street to your next job without somebody busting out the car. Read it, but this is Bible prophecy. Read what the Bible say. Letting you know the Bible is a real book. These Christian pastors just ain't never taught it right. They ain't never taught the Bible right. How you got a book? You got a book where people were slaves and God freed them from slavery, but you teaching them about blessings and giving tithes and offerings. Wait a minute, what about all the oppression that's in the scriptures? Why you ain't trying to get a people hope out the scriptures? How about you tell them about the Israelites, about Moses, about the Maccabees, how they fought for their freedom? How about you teach them their history about the transatlantic slave trade and how it's in the Bible, word for word? These are the things that we must teach to bring our people back to God. Now, I ask you a question. I ask you, how did the so-called Puerto Ricans get to America? Remember, because they was in the land of America way before Columbus got here, right? We telling you that they the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. The Bible documents how they got over here to this side of the world. You want to hear it? Kind of, sort of. This is your history. Hey, this might be your only opportunity to learn this history ever in your life. Ever. That way, when you have children and your children ask, hey, how did our people get to Puerto Rico? You can tell them. This is about us changing the narrative and not going by what we was told, but going by what we can read and learn on our own. Let's read this.
This is the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 13 and verse 40.
What am I going to read? I'm going to show you how the Americas were populated. When I say the Americas, that's North, Central, and South America. That's the islands as well. Because people think that the Mexicans are different from the Native Americans of America. Or the ones in South America are different from Central America. Y'all all the same people, divided into different tribes. Same way the Lord divided y'all into tribes. But from there you went to sub-tribes. I know there's a lot of history, but now you know where to get it from. Now that flyer should be a little bit more valuable. How old are you? You're 16. So no, when I was 16, I didn't give a damn about history. I didn't care. But as you become a man and you realize you have children and you realize that you're searching for who you really are in a world full of lies and deceit, all of a sudden your history going to become a lot more important. Why? Because what you going to pass down to your kids? If you know you've been lied to, you just going to lie to your kids. I'll give you an example, right? You know Santa Claus ain't real. I know Santa Claus ain't real. But when you're growing up, your parents teach you it's real, right? And you believe in that thing for a lot of years. Then you get old enough, you finally realize that's BS. So when you become a parent, guess what you do? You teach your kids the same thing. Oh yeah, Santa Claus is real and he gonna come down the chimney, he gonna bring you gifts. Why? Why do we pass down lies from generation to generation to generation? Yeah. You know why? Because we ain't got nothing else to pass down.
That's right.
And what you gonna replace the lie with? You got nothing to replace the lie with, because all you know is lies. Because that's all your generation's been fed. So today you're gonna learn the real truth.
Bring it up.
Read that.
2 Ezra chapter 13 and verse 40.
Come on, bro.
Those are the 10 tribes.
So the 10 tribes is from Ephraim all the way down. Come on.
Which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of O.C. the king.
O.C. was the one that conquered us when we were in the land of Israel. Come on.
Whom Salmanessar, the king of Assyria, led away captive.
Come on, read.
And he carried them over the waters.
He carried them over the waters. Read.
And so came they into another land.
And they were in another land. So when he took them out of Jerusalem, listen, I'm going through history. He takes them out of Jerusalem. He takes them to a separate land where they're going to serve slavery. All right, come on.
But they took this counsel among themselves.
So after he released them, they took a counsel amongst themselves. They all had a meeting. Come on.
That they would leave the multitude of the heathen.
He said, look, we need to get away from these people where we were brought. Come on.
And go forth into a further country.
He said, we're going to leave this place and go to another country where
never mankind dwelt.
That country, no man had ever stepped foot in that country ever before. What are we reading? How did the Puerto Ricans get to this side of the world? Come on.
That they might there keep their statues.
Because the thing was, we didn't keep our statues in Jerusalem, but when we go to this other country, we ain't going to have no distractions. We'll keep it there. You with me? Come on.
Which they never kept in their own land.
Read.
And they entered into Euphrates.
Where's that map?
Hold on, the other side. One second.
All right. This ain't the one I want, but. All right, there we go. It says that they entered the river Euphrates. Come on.
By the narrow passages of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them. So this is around where the Euphrates is. And they showed signs, meaning they read the stars. When you read about Northern Kingdom, the so-called Hispanics, they're very good at astrology. Reading the stars. That's how the temples were made in Mexico and Puerto Rico, places like that. Read. And held still the flood. Because this place around the Indian Ocean, the water is real bad. It's very hard to sail. The Bible says that the Lord held still the flood, meaning he didn't make the water so turbulent. Come on. Till they were passed over. So they finally got over. Read. For through that country. For around all of this, come on. There was a great way to go. There was a great way to go, namely what? Namely of a year and a half. So they entered into the Euphrates River, and it took them a year and a half to travel all the way around. From here all the way down and around to get to the Americas. Come on. And the same region is called Arsareth. In the same region in the Bible, it's called Arsareth. When you look up that word Arsareth, if you Google it, it translates to the Americas. So how did the so-called Puerto Ricans and Native Americans get to this side of the world? By boat. They traveled around the southern tip of Africa. It took them a year and a half to get over here. That's why when Christopher Columbus came, he used the writings that we're reading to discover America.
We used to scream Black Power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.